Welcome, luxury enthusiasts, to the Luxury Travelers Podcast, hosted by Rodney George. The ultimate passport to opulent destinations, extravagant experiences, and unparalleled indulgence. Whether one is a seasoned jet setter or daydreaming of the next lavish getaway, the Luxury Travelers Podcast has it all covered. So buckle up and prepare for a journey into the lap of luxury. Now, your host.
Well, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whatever time it is when you're finally tuning in to this episode of the Luxury Travelers Podcast. I'll tell you, folks, I've been waiting since episode number 1 to get this gentleman on the show, and he's been so busy, and I'm sure he's had agent problems and all kinds of issues. But tonight, whatever time it is, we have with us Mr. Steve Spivak, a good friend of mine, who is the Vice President of Global Sales and Reservations for one of my favorite vendors in the entire travel industry, Tauck. Welcome to the show, Steve.
Thank you so much, Rodney. It's great to be here with you finally, and I'm glad we waited because this is a big year for Tauck, our 100th anniversary, and couldn't be prouder to be here with you. Thanks.
Well, it's definitely worth the wait because you guys have some really special stuff going on, not the least of which is it was 100 years ago this year that Arthur Tauck Sr. decided that he wanted to be a tour operator, I guess.
I'm not sure if Arthur knew exactly what he wanted to be, but he certainly knew that he didn't want to be a bank messenger anymore. And I'm pretty sure he wasn't dead set on being a traveling salesman. And so it was serendipitous in the summer of 1925 when he had a lark and said, I'm going to take people with me on my next selling trip and show them a little bit of this incredible scenery that I've been seeing, and let them stay in these wonderful lodges that I've stayed in and eat at these great restaurants where they know your name when you walk in the door. And that was the beginning of really an industry and certainly a different way of life for him and the rest of the Tauck family, who still runs this business to this day, 100 years later.
Yeah, I was fortunate enough. My good friend Robin Tauck, who's the former president and CEO, was in Southwest Florida over the weekend, and I had dinner with her Saturday night. And for those of you who don't know the history, we're now headed into the 4th generation of the Tauck family running a business, which is highly unusual in our country today.
Absolutely. In the 4th generation, they're bringing such a unique perspective to the business, right? And that's really the secret to Tauck's success is, well, first and foremost, take care of the guest, right? Do the right thing. But innovation throughout the years, never resting on your laurels and never accepting that what you did yesterday is good enough, is such a key to the success of the Taucks. And now as the 4th generation comes into the business, they're bringing what they've learned outside of the business in. They're bringing a different perspective from a new generation. They're more tech savvy. They're more focused on sustainability, and they're approaching it always with a grounding in the values that have allowed us to be true to our roots, but with an eye on doing things better and better still than what we did in the past. So it'll be, one thing's for certain, this will always be a family business. And, again, that allows us to be grounded in our roots and doing the right thing. But it allows us to modernize in a way that resonates with our guests.
Well, I look at Tauck on a daily basis for someone, and I love it when a client takes their first trip with you guys, because they come back, and when we do our follow-up phone call, it's like, oh my gosh, we had the best vacation ever. By the way, what else do these guys do?
Yeah, it's not a tour or a cruise. Tauck is really a way of traveling. And it's funny, a lot of people will say, not I want to just go to Africa, or not I want to go on a European river cruise. They'll say, I want to take a Tauck. And that means traveling a certain way. There's like four key things that go into every Tauck journey. It's really like the architecture of DNA. travel in good company, those incredible Tauck directors that guide every single journey. Never settle for ordinary. Those exceptional experiences around the world, whether it's after hours at the Louvre or private Sistine Chapel. And then it's travel, it's leave your worries at home. Tauck takes care of everything so that you don't have to be removed from those incredible moments where you're really seeing and exploring the world. And then the last, never settle for ordinary. It's the little surprises along the way. And those things are so important to the Tauck experience.
And it's so hard for me if I'm traveling with a group and I've done that tour before and I know what the surprise is. It's so hard not to spill the beans, but it's like Christmas morning when you tell them what we're going to do tonight.
Absolutely. And, not spilling the beans. Imagine how hard it is for those of us who are, work at Tauck and know that recipe. But one of the things that's so important, and I think why we're able to keep these surprises coming, is our tour directors, what we refer to as Tauck directors. They guide these journeys over and over again, but we actually empower them to make decisions for a specific group or for individuals on the group who may be celebrating a milestone anniversary or birthday. We empower the Tauck directors with resource, what we call an enliven fund, and that allows them to give the guests a taste of the destination or treat them to a little memento or a special experience when they see the opportunity present itself. And it may be different for one group than it is for another. And empowering those people to make the magic happen is what makes every Tauck experience personal and different for each guest.
Well, when those clients come back from that first trip and they say, what else does Tauck do? I just get a smile from ear to ear because I said, well, they do all 7 continents and all 7 oceans. Where would you like to go next? What's next on your bucket list? So tell us a little bit about what Tauck really does and where all they travel from their roots 100 years ago up and down the coast of New England to the Tauck today.
Sure. Yeah. And look, those back roads in New England are still very near and dear to us. And
Yes.
that is where it all started. But as the world has become smaller and the appetites of our guests have grown larger to experience and explore the world, we literally have had to continue to evolve and expand our offering to all 7 continents, as you mentioned. So there are 4 brands within Tauck. But, as we like to say, we are a branded house, not a house of brands, meaning everything that we do and everywhere we go, it should feel the same. A different destination, different experiences, but it should feel the same. It should always feel exceptional. So we do North American land journeys, part of our Tauck World Discovery portfolio. North American land journeys, 80% of which feature national parks of the U.S. or Canada. And, those amazing national parks, the Canadian Rockies, and then the great cities of the U.S. and Canada. And we typically do those in partnership with the documentary filmmaker Ken Burns. So he provides a great narrative, custom-made, produced vignettes of the destination. We also do an extensive array of European land journeys. I think we have something like 19 journeys to Italy alone. So everything from an exploration of all of the highlights of Italy on our classic Italy journey to week-long expeditions to Umbria or Puglia, where you really dive more deeply into those special regions. Africa is a huge part of what we do, and African safaris, and that's part of our global journeys portfolio. And then, of course, far off destinations like New Zealand and Australia and Southeast Asia. So land journeys are still a significant portion, although we have ventured far and wide from those back roads in New England. Now, we still do New England and fall foliage. People love that trip. Cape Cod and the islands, people love that trip. But a bigger and growing part of our portfolio is now European river cruising. And that is been such an incredibly popular way of exploring Europe. And of course, Tauck does it in a way that's unique. For us, it's really about the destination.
What is the Tauck difference on river cruising? Because as a travel advisor and as a traveler, there's a huge chasm between Tauck and everybody else on the rivers of Europe.
Yeah, well, we have a saying at Tauck that small is big. And for our guests, for people who really want the best of everything, it's important for them to travel with fewer people. Have more space to spread out on the ship. Be able to dine when you want to dine and with who you want to dine with. To be able to have a seat in the lounge whenever you want to have a seat in the lounge to enjoy the rich content delivered by our Tauck directors, just to unwind with friends. So small is big. What that means is when you have fewer people on our ships, and Tauck ships carry fewer people than any other river cruise lines, the cabins are larger. The restaurants can accommodate open seating. You have multiple restaurants on board ship. And what they really get is a better destination experience because there's fewer people. And as you're traveling the rivers of Europe, part of the magic of river cruising is that you wake up in the heart of these great cities and charming towns every day. And when you get off the ship, you don't want to change the nature of the town by having 190 people get off the ship together. So when you get off the ship and you're part of a group of 90 or 100 with Tauck, and you split up into smaller groups of 15 or 20, you really just blend into the destination, and you go to these great places with your Tauck directors, and you meet with the locals, and you're joined by local guides, and you really get to immerse in the destination differently. You get to have dinner at Michelin-starred restaurants, and you get to explore palaces that aren't open to the public. And it's just a very luxurious, intimate, and exclusive way to experience European river cruising. And the best part is everything is included. So you never have, well, they included a little walking tour, but do I have to pay extra for the really good excursion to the winery?
Yeah.
No, with Tauck, that's all included. Or, I would really love to have a meal off the ship today, but is that going to cost extra? No, with Tauck, it's included. Or, I'd love to have a cocktail after dinner tonight, but am I going to get the bill at the end? No, with Tauck, everything's included. And the most important thing that's included is the 3 Tauck directors traveling with you at every excursion to every destination, in addition to the cruise director who's managing the logistics. And these are all Tauck employees, the best of the best.
I call that the friendly face amongst the crowd, because when you get off of the riverboat, or when you deviate from the path, there's always that familiar face. In addition to the local historian who may be doing the tour, but the Tauck director is always right there with you, or just around the corner, or just out of sight. And it's amazing. And just to kind of push everything you just said into one thing, if you've never traveled on the rivers of Europe, all the locks are the same
That's
size.
right.
All the boats, the ships are the same size. Some people choose to put 190 on a ship, where Tauck puts 110 or so. Guess what the difference is? It's amazing to have 80 fewer people trying to fight their way out the door. There are 80 fewer people trying to get a seat at dinner, 80 fewer people trying to get a cocktail when they come back from excursion. It's an experience, folks, that if you haven't tried it, I highly recommend it.
Absolutely. And that's part of really one of the most important things about Tauck is it's not the price you pay up front. It's the value you get for the experience. And no one ever comes back from a Tauck journey and goes, I paid too much for that. They come back and they say what great value that was.
Right.
To have all those things included, to not have to worry about anything, to stay in the best hotels for the experience. That was a great value. And that's the style I want to travel in.
A wise man once told me, Stephen, you're free to borrow this from this day forward, that price is only an issue in the absence of value.
Absolutely. I think I think that's something Arthur himself would embrace. And it really is the difference between loving an experience and feeling like you didn't exactly get what you were expecting.
Okay, so Tauck's celebrating their 100th anniversary this year. And I know you have some exciting things planned, and you're actually taking your entire company to one spot on the globe to celebrate this big anniversary. But what can we really expect to come out of that for the consumer, and what's Tauck's game plan the next 5, 10, 25? Hey, how about the next 100 years?
Yeah. So it's interesting. And I don't know if this is sort of New England values, but we don't spend a lot of time self-congratulating. We don't spend a lot of time celebrating the past. We think of our successes in the past as important markers and lessons learned. And one of the things that we really like to do when marking a milestone like the 100th is show gratitude for those who have been a part of the journey, who have supported us along the way, like you, Rodney, the travel advisor community, our partners, our employees. So we'll go to Florence and there'll be some celebrating. Absolutely. We're going to mark the occasion with the family and all of our employees and some of the suppliers who have sponsored the event. But really what we're going to do is get together as a company and split into smaller groups and work on what our areas of focus should be for the next 5 years and the next 10 years. And coming together as a company that's really global. We have hundreds of Tauck tour directors who live in Europe, who live in Australia, who live in Canada and the US. So bringing them all together and our office staff all together, it allows us to share perspectives from the road, share perspectives from the travel advisors, share perspectives from the marketing and sales and operations, and think about how can we be better in the next 5 years at delivering experiences that our guests want now than we were for the last 5 years. And things change over time with travel, right? How people want to travel changes. For example, 10 years ago, when we celebrated our 90th anniversary, we had the idea that smaller groups would be something that our guests would like to experience. They loved what Tauck offered for our first 90 years, but as the experience, as the storytelling, as the immersiveness and exclusivity of the destination became more important, our guests felt that fewer people traveling would give them more access and more personalization.
Mm-hmm.
And so small groups are now the majority of what Tauck does. It used to be a group of 36. Now 75% of what we do is 24 guests or smaller. So changing how we deliver the experience is important, and we'll continue to innovate in that way. Expanding river cruising. Next year in 2026, we'll launch 2 new ships in France. And we know that our way of exploring the rivers of Europe has resonated with our guests, and now they just want access to the space. And
Yep.
So as it's become harder and harder to get space on Tauck, we need to build more ships, but again, staying true to what it is, the value proposition of Tauck river cruising. So we'll talk about how do we deliver on the Tauck promise moving forward? How do we expand our offering in a way that resonates? So what new destinations should we be traveling to? What new technology should we leverage to make the experience better? Should we go even smaller with group size and add things like extensions before or after Tauck journeys? So those people who want to go to Rome just for 4 days before their classic Italy journey can do that still with Tauck. And then one of the big things that we're going to tackle is how can we create a product that resonates with Gen X? Yeah, Gen X just surpassed the boomers as the largest generation in terms of population size. And so in the past, we would wait sort of till they move into a range that resonates with where our current product offering resonates with them, we'd like to design something for this traveler that's not very different than what we do now, but perhaps has more free time, perhaps has more Michelin-starred restaurant dining, more activity, and more sort of adventure to it. So looking at how we continue to expand the core of what we do in a way that's true to what we've always done, but focuses on connecting more deeply with our current passenger base and expanding to a new passenger base. So we're very excited for that. But again, it's really the success story of this company is doing what's right and never settling for what we've done in the past being good enough for the future. There are a lot of great companies that stopped innovating and are no longer with us, and we don't ever want to be that.
It's easy to fall asleep at the wheel.
It sure is. It sure is. And it's important to have partners and guests who challenge us. And Rodney, you've always been so great at being the voice of your customers, and telling us when there's an area of opportunity to improve, telling us what your clients want to see from Tauck. And one of the secrets to success in a business like ours is listening. When you have a partner who's willing to share feedback, listen and respond appropriately. So we really appreciate that of you.
I was talking to a client the other day and I said, I didn't see your list. We're doing our big travel mastermind event tomorrow here in Naples. And that's our one time a year big event where we have 14, 15 luxury travel providers, and we'll have a couple of hundred clients there. And when I said something to the client, I said, I didn't see your name on the list. Are you guys not coming? And they go, well, we haven't decided yet. And she leaned forward. She goes, is Tauck going to be there? And I said, have you ever been to one of our events when Tauck wasn't there?
Hey, we'll take it. We'll take it. Thank you.
I said, yes, Jennifer will be here, and maybe even a special surprise. Who knows?
That's wonderful.
Anyway, you've been with Tauck for a few years now. I first met you in Nashville, Tennessee at what were we doing there? Oh, it was the
2016 Tauck Academy.
Tauck Academy, right. I walked in the room late, and Steve says, welcome, Rodney. I had no idea how he knew my name. But he said, I was just telling everybody that tonight we're going to the Jack Daniel's distillery for a tour and dinner. And I thought, boy, I'm glad I got here in time.
Not one to be missed. But yeah, come on, Rodney, you're a celebrity at Tauck. And so I knew you were coming, and I knew what to expect once you got there. And we weren't going to leave for Jack Daniel's without you.
That was a memorable evening. That was one of my favorite brands, and to get to do it with a bunch of travel advisors from all over the country who were seeking to enhance their knowledge about you and your company. But Steve, out of all the places you guys go, out of all the tours that you operate around the world, what's your favorite? What's number one with Steve?
Wow. Well, I'd love to say that my favorite is always the one I just did. But honestly, the best experience that I've ever had, and I think this is a testament to sort of values in life and what I value. The journey that I have loved the most is our Bon Voyage France family river cruise, which is part of the Tauck Bridges multi-generational or family travel brand. It's a trip that my son and I did together. My son's now 13. We did it for his 7th birthday. And there is nothing like exploring the world with your family. I've seen it over the years as my 3 kids have gotten older. My youngest is 6. But as the kids get older, all the stuff that they accumulate was something that they were once dying to have. And next thing you know, you're throwing it in the trash,
Right.
You're donating it to a charity. But my son still, 6 years later, talks about things we experienced together on that Bon Voyage France river cruise. He still talks about the people we met. He's made friends from that journey. And that memory for us will last a lifetime. So that was my favorite trip. And it was my favorite trip because we did it together. But the reason that we were able to enjoy it so much is because Tauck took care of every detail.
Right.
In a couple of weeks for February break, my family and I, my 3 kids, my wife and I, we will travel to Florida together for what will be an absolutely miserable week of vacation, because I'm going to be doing all the planning, and we're going to be deciding where we're eating, and we're going to be the tour director. And so we'll get back from that not actually having had a vacation. When you travel as a family with Tauck, whether it's grandparents and grandkids or parents and children, Tauck takes care of all the work so that you can be present for those incredible experiences, seeing the Louvre together, traveling the Rhone River, walking the streets of Avignon, like all of the incredible cooking together at a Michelin-starred cooking school. All those experiences you're present for because Tauck's taking care of all the details. So that is a memory and a way of traveling that I will always treasure. And we've done multiple bridges journeys, and I highly recommend it. And that's such a really great example of the value that Tauck offers, which is totally different than the price you pay, because you can pay less to do it yourself, but the value is in having Tauck take care of all the details so that you can really enjoy it.
I can't think of anything to say other than amen.
And hallelujah.
Hallelujah. You know, I the Naples Daily News did a story on us a few years ago, and because we do a ton of multi-generational family vacations, and they wouldn't let you see the article. They took pictures, did all kinds of stuff. They wouldn't let you see the article until it was published. And you're always afraid of what they're going to say, but they came up cleverly with the headline, "Take the kids and pick up the tab." And I'll tell you, we are all about creating memories, not just for our class, but my own family as well. And my children and your children as well, long after you and I are gone, we'll still be talking about some of the memories we've created with them traveling the world. And many of those travels have been with Tauck.
Well, if there's anything that makes me proud, it's that we help families connect more deeply, live to the fullest, and build memories through what we do. I mean, not a lot of people get rich in the travel industry other than through their experiences and the joy they bring others. And I'm so proud of that. So thank you, Rodney.
And that's a richness that nobody can ever take away from you.
Absolutely.
Steve, I could talk to you all day. It's always fun to see you and to visit with you. I really appreciate you being on the show today. And I always remind our clients as we go on our way here today, and that one thing is to get out there and enjoy yourself. It's actually later than you think. Steve, thanks a million for being on with us.
Thank you so much, Rodney. It was a pleasure and a privilege. And thank you for your support always. Again, in 100 years, you get nowhere without great partners and great friends. So thank you for what you do for us.
And thank you, my friend. Bye for
Take
now.
care.
Thanks for joining us on the Luxury Travelers Podcast. For more information, head on over to luxurytravelerspodcast.com to connect with our team or leave us a message. Until next time, safe travels and savor the extraordinary.